Hello guys, I've got another very special friend of mine. You know, today it's nobody famous, well not yet anyway. But he's a very good friend of mine and a very successful fellow Formula One YouTuber. It's Will from FP1 podcast for Formula. So cheers for coming on Will.
I'm loving it here, mate. Glad to be here. Hope you're well.
Yeah, I'm very well. So how's lockdown been treating you?
It's not been bad actually. I've been enjoying it. You know, it's a bit too hot at the moment in London. It's about 33 degrees. So I apologise if my fans getting picked up in the audio, but I need it, otherwise I will melt over the course of this chat here. But no, it's been good. It's kind of been nice to kind of sit back, you know, forget about all the other things that's going on in the world, and just focus on myself and focus on YouTube and focus on doing what I enjoy doing. So it's been really good.
Yeah. So what do you think about the last few races? I mean, we had 5 races so far. So what do you think?
Yeah, a lot's changed since the last time we spoke, hasn't it? It's been interesting. We've had it's been a very weird start to the season. It's been a very weird season on the whole, hasn't it? You know, with what the current situation has done to the world and to the F1 calendar. And we've had quite a lot of shock results in there. I think Lando's podium in the first round in Austria. You know, Nico Hulkenberg retained. We wouldn't have seen that, wouldn't have predicted that about 6 months ago. That incredible finish we had at the British Grand Prix, which I'm still kind of getting over. And last weekend's race was really good as well. It kind of had that nice kind of steady drama all the way throughout that Grand Prix, and a car that wasn't a Mercedes coming out on top. So yeah, it's been a really good start to the season. I've enjoyed it. It's one of my favourite in recent memory, even though we are seeing a situation where one team is utterly dominant.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I wanna pick up on before we get we carry on talking about the season is what do you think about our super sub?
Oh, good old Nico. I mean, it's the dream that I think we all wanted, and then we would, as it kind of went over, thought, it's not going to happen. There's no way it's going to happen. They're going to go for Gutierrez. They're going to go for Van Dorn. Then Van Dorn was away in Formula E, and then Gutierrez, it transpired, couldn't even race despite him being a reserve driver, which still baffles me how that oversight happened, especially since he was the reserve for, I think he was the reserve for not just Mercedes, but obviously Racing Point and McLaren. I think Williams had the option of using him as well. So why he's the reserve for so many teams, yet it wouldn't be allowed to race. Very, very strange. I don't really know on that one. But I know Hulk's name was getting thrown about there when the news came out about Sergio. And obviously we wish Sergio well. And I think he is making a great recovery, which is fantastic to hear. But it was very... when that news kept saying Hulkenberg was in line, I was like, yeah, it's all been hyped up. It's not actually going to happen. It's not going to happen. And then, we get to the morning of the Friday and we were like, oh, hang on a second. Maybe this could happen. Maybe Nico could step into this seat. And he did. And what a couple of weekends. I mean, heartbreak at the start of the first one with him not being able to race. That felt so cruel. And then with the rumours that Perez would come back for the 70th anniversary Grand Prix, it just felt, oh, Christ, what's going on here? But honestly, Hulkenberg did just as well as Perez had done in that seat. maybe even better in some cases in that with that P3 in qualifying at the 70th anniversary GP. So yeah, just what a couple of weekends. The way things turn in Formula One, it's crazy, isn't it?
So I take it you really enjoyed it.
Oh yeah.
And I want to carry on with chatting to you regarding the reserve driver roles. I mean, I've said to a number of my viewers, I said Formula One should put a new rule in whereby every single reserve driver should be mandatory to have a valid super license because especially because of the current situation with the COVID. I mean, you know, as I said, I mean, as you said earlier as well, why the hell did is Gutierrez even on the reserve driver on the reserve driver rostrum if they can't even get him into race from a legal standpoint? You know, and you know, I personally think it's not going to be the last. Unfortunately, it's not going to be the last COVID-19 positive test we're going to see during the season. So, what's your thoughts on making it mandatory for anybody to have a super license, whether you're a reserve driver or extra race driver?
I think that's a very good point, Raz, and I think it's definitely something that needs to be considered and thought about. As you say, coming into this situation, so much was changing in regards to the calendar, in regards to the way things are operated. As we see, the whole podium ceremonies change. The way teams have to operate has to change as well, keeping that social distancing where possible. And, you know, I guess the concept of reserve drivers was almost forgotten about and was almost seen as a bit of an oversight when you look at it on a whole. So it seems like such an important thing. It feels like quite a silly oversight from Formula One in a sense that we, how best to it, like at the end of the day, they were expecting some positive tests. We saw a few positive tests in Hungary among team personnel. Then obviously come to Silverstone and we see the first positive test of the driver. I think you're right. I don't think it will be the first time, or it'll be the last time, sorry, that we see something like that in this current season. Maybe even into next season. We don't know how long these protocols are going to last. It's going to depend on whether we get a second wave of this virus or not. But well, I think we know what driver team's going to turn to now. I feel like now Nico's had experience in the car. He's going to be the favourite option for basically all the teams out there on the grid, which could make things very interesting, especially if you see a driver at a top team, say a Mercedes or a Red Bull, find themselves unable to compete. We could see that podium. I don't want to jinx it, but we could. But I think you've made a very good point in suggesting that there should be a mandatory super license. It's something that you think should happen anywhere. I feel like it's almost like a bit of a grey area or a loophole in the rules, because the reserve driver is there to take up the race drive if one of the main race drivers can't race. You know, we've seen several examples of that in recent years. You had Van Dorn for Alonso. You had Magnussen for Alonso as well. Alonso seems to like missing races from McLaren Honda. Can't think about why. But yeah, it's I don't know. I just think it's really weird that this was not addressed sooner. I feel like it's just been missed, and now obviously we've seen it, and thankfully in this scenario, you know, there was a fix for it, and they were able to draft Hulk in. But you know, they that shouldn't have had to happen. Gutierrez should have had a super license, or he shouldn't have been in that team at all.
Yeah, I mean, like as I said, you know, let's hope Sergio Perez can make a full recovery for Spain. Although I think Hayek is flown over to Spain already.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying anything, but the fact that like, because in my email that I just had from the press officer Will, it says we currently we're very committed. We currently very full of media commitments to our drivers.
Yeah, I wonder why.
And I'm thinking, is Hulk gonna become the unofficial or the official reserve driver for Racing Point? Because why else would he go and travel with them to Spain?
Yeah, I think that wouldn't make sense to put anyone else in the car at this point. If you want to get the best results, you want to put an experienced driver in there. And Nico's now had 2 race weekends under his belt, so it makes sense to put Hulk in there again if Perez can't race. I find it really interesting because coming back to Formula One after having the virus is different to most other jobs. So if we look at the UK policies, 10 days quarantine now, and you aren't tested again after that, and that's kind of what caught Perez out. He may have served his quarantine period, but he was still positive for the virus, even if it was at a form that it wasn't. There was a very low risk of him giving it to anybody else. That risk is still there. So it's going to be interesting to see whether that has. Apparently, they're testing him fairly regularly now, and the amount of the virus in his body is decreasing. So he's definitely on the mend. But it's going to be interesting to see whether he has a safe level of the virus in his system by the time we get to Barcelona. And I would not be surprised to see Hulk in there again. I'd love to see that. I really, really would. Just give Hulkenberg as much time in the car as possible, because he seemed to like that Racing Point. I mean, look at what he did with Stroll. He was rapid, beating Stroll by the end of the second weekend. Had he not had those tyre issues at the end of the race on Sunday, would have ended up beating him as well. So he deserves to be on that grid. And I feel like you said unofficial reserve driver for Racing Point. As I said earlier, I think he'll be the unofficial reserve driver for any Formula One team at this point, because if you want a driver that has the most recent experience in the car, it's now Nico Hulkenberg.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna put a spinner in the works for you, and I wanna put this out there. From the last race, and I don't know whether you've seen the tweet, the image that Ferrari have put out, where and it caused a bit of a storm on my timeline. I don't know whether you saw it, but it was sort of. I think it was meant to. It was Vettel walking away and like Leclerc and the team being like together or something. I want to put this out there. Do you think Vettel is going to see out the rest of the season?
Oh, you know what? Funny enough, when we were sat, I'm trying to remember whether it was the club we did on your channel or the club that we did on mine. I think it was the one we did on mine, but I might be. Yeah, I think it was. But you said that Hulkenberg would replace Vettel, and I was sat there thinking, nah, there's no way, it's not going to happen. However, now with the way things have turned out, like what I said at the beginning of this episode, this is a very, very weird season for Formula One. I think looking at the relationship that Vettel has with Ferrari, it is not good. And in fact, it is really, really toxic. And I remember saying back at the start of the year that I think Vettel could be a championship contender this year. I was a little bit wrong on that one. Just a little bit wrong. I wouldn't put it out of the question. I still feel like if Ferrari were going to replace Vettel, they would either try and get Sainz in that car early, though I don't think Sainz would really want to move given the state that team is in at the moment, or perhaps go for either Giovinazzi, which I don't think is the right move, but he's Italian and he's their highest Ferrari Academy driver in terms of the tier of the sport anyway. They're not going to put an F2 driver in there. Wouldn't make sense. But I could see them putting in Gio, kind of like they put Fisichella in, where after Badoa just didn't perform in 2009. It's a tricky one. Could Hulkenberg go in that car? Maybe. I don't know whether Hulk would want that. Obviously, the Ferrari is not a great car, but it would be very interesting to see how he stacks against Leclerc. And that could be, in fact, that could be good for Hulkenberg, because if you think right now, the only driver that he's been able to prove he's better than is Lance Stroll. And no offense to Lance Stroll, but he's not a Lewis Hamilton of the sport. He's not a Max Verstappen. Charles Leclerc, on the other hand, is one of these up-and-coming talents. So if you put Hulk in that Ferrari and he blows the socks off Charles Leclerc, which given Leclerc's performances this year, maybe there is a podium if he's lucky. That could be the thing that makes some of the top teams, say Red Bull, that currently have a seat available, think, oh, hang on a second, maybe there's room for an option here.
And funny you should say that. It wasn't you that commented that on my video, but I did a video 2 days ago where I think Hulk would be most likely to end, could resume his career. I said, well, I leave a link in the corner so you can watch it later. But I said he would go to a certain American team, but and then somebody commented saying he could actually go to Red Bull because Alex Albon is on icy ground. Now I can't see that happening because I don't think that would be in Red Bull's philosophy. I mean, why else would they have AlphaTauri? You know, what's the point in AlphaTauri if they're not going to use the drivers? But what is your thoughts about that then?
That's a very interesting one, and I made a video on this actually a few weeks back on whether Red Bull should drop Alex Albon, and that was, just to put a bit of context in there, before his result at the latest Grand Prix, which for me, I think despite his qualifying performance, I think his qualifying was still a little bit shaky. He was a lot better in the race, and he pulled some moves that Red Bull would have expected him to pull, and probably went beyond that. Like that move on Raikkonen around the outside of Cox was incredible. And in that video, what I said was, although AlphaTauri is there to kind of get those Red Bull juniors up, at the moment, the two Red Bull juniors, I say juniors like that because they're not really junior drivers anymore, they're both in the sport for a fair few years now, they've both been ousted by Red Bull. Now, Kvyat arguably unfairly, and I think Kvyat is doing a lot better job this season than people give him credit for. He was obviously in the points at round one before his tyre decided to explode, which was fun. Kind of set the well. He quite likes having his rear tyres fall off the car, as we saw in Silverstone as well, race one. Although I feel like he was ousted unfairly for Verstappen in 2016, bear in mind he'd beaten Ricciardo in 2015. I don't think Red Bull will go back, and they proved that when they put Alex Albon above Kvyat, despite Kvyat getting a podium when Gasly was the one in trouble last year. So I don't think they'll go for Kvyat. Gasly, for a very similar reason, I think he's absolutely smashing it this year. He's doing so well. I mean, he just missed out on the points last weekend, but I think there was something wrong with the strategy there. And again, the race before, what was it? Was it P8? Was it P8 that he got?
Yeah.
And overtaking like the Stroll in that racing point was brilliant, And it shows that Gasly, I think he always prefers that AlphaTauri car. And if you ask me, what both those guys need to do is find a drive outside of that Red Bull family. Now, a few months ago, they said Gasly might be in line for a Renault seat. Obviously, now we know that that's gone to Fernando Alonso. But in a year's time, when Ocon's contract is up, they want a French driver in that team, and Gasly can. I think he probably will retain his AlphaTauri seat for another year. Looking at how long they kind of hold on to their ousted Red Bull drivers, I think Kvyat was kept on for another year. So I feel like if Ocon's seat becomes available, because he's not doing great, Gasly can step up. But we're going off topic here. Back to Red Bull, and I don't think they're going to go with any of the AlphaTauri drivers because it's just a PR nightmare for them. Although I think both of them deserve a chance in that Red Bull team again, Even Kvyat, it's a little bit more of a controversial matter, but I just can't see Red Bull doing it, which is a real shame because they're both great talents. Which I guess at that point leaves you with, okay, who's available on the grid? And for me, the two names that kind of stick to mind, and although they sound crazy at the moment, they probably will sound crazy when they retain Alex Albon again for next year, which I think is still the most likely outcome. But those two drivers are Sergio Perez, because it's looking more likely that Vettel's going to get that Racing Point seat, and Nico Hülkenberg. Now, you said a certain American team, so Haas is definitely an option for Hülkenberg. The way I see it going most likely is Red Bull will retain Albon, Haas will take Hülkenberg, and then Perez will end up in Alfa Romeo taking Kimi's seat. But I wouldn't count Hulk out of the equation just yet, just given how well he did in that Red Bull car.
Yeah. Because bringing it forward to like next year, before we sort of look at our journeys within YouTube and Formula One, I just want to hear your opinion. And I did ask every single guest this, including the likes of, including Will Buxton, and including Natalie Pinkham. So I think
an elusive club here.
I think you can guess what the question is. You've mentioned his name in your last answer. So what do you think about Fernando Alonso coming back?
Fernando, it's an interesting one. I have a love-hate relationship with Fernando. When I was watching Formula 1 as a kid, when Schumacher, I'd always watch it with my mum because I was quite young at the time, and when Schumacher stopped winning, we stopped watching it for whatever reason. I don't know why. So I kind of missed that time when Alonso was at his prime, really, in 2005, 2006. Didn't come back to watching Formula 1 until 2010. And at that point, I was a big Mark Webber fan. So when Mark Webber and Alonso were fighting for the championship, I wasn't a massive fan of Alonso, nor was I a massive fan of Vettel. That's now changed quite a lot. So I've got older and kind of grown to, like the personalities a little bit more. Fernando, for me, is... I can see why he's coming back, because he wants that third championship. Is he going to get it with Renault? It's going to take a bit of luck. They're going to need to find something for 2021, which could happen. I mean, we've seen it in the past. Mercedes rise to power, Brawn's rise to power from 2008 to 2009. And it could happen. It's unlikely, but it's the highest paid team he's going to go, because he's not going to go back to McLaren after all the drama he caused there. He's not going to go to Red Bull because Honda won't. Well, firstly, Red Bull won't take him, and secondly, that's a Honda-powered car, and Honda won't have him in any of their cars anymore, and he shot himself in the foot with that one. Ferrari fell out with. Mercedes, the door's basically shut there. They're not going to upset Hamilton. So really, the best car that he can be in at the moment is that Renault. Now, apparently, he was in contact with Racing Point as well. I think he should have taken the Racing Point drive, personally. And I feel like Vettel would have definitely landed that Renault one. And then it would be, or maybe Perez had Perez into the Renault. I doubt it. But yeah, I think it's interesting to have. I'm still kind of mixed on it, because I think, some of the junior drivers that are not going to get the chance to step up now, out of Christian Lundgaard and Guan Yu Zhou that we're seeing in Formula 2, I think only one of them is going to make it to Formula 1 in the foreseeable future, and the other one's going to get stuck up by the wayside and just become another Oliver Rowland or, another Antonio Felix da Costa, and kind of just miss out on that F1 chance. But yeah, I'm going to hold off my opinion until I see how competitive he is. If he can prove to me that he deserves that seat at the Formula 1 grid, because Formula 1 should house the 20 best drivers in the world. If he can prove to me that he is in that top 20, then fair enough, he's happy to stay. If he comes in and it's kind of like a Michael Schumacher return, where he's just not really got it anymore, then they should be putting a junior in that car.
Yeah. I mean, I still don't understand it. I really don't understand what the point is of him coming back, because he clearly stated that he's after the third championship, yeah. But I mean, not only between you and me, but I think unless Renault knows something or unless Alonso knows something that we all don't, right? He's not gonna get a championship, let alone regular wins.
Yeah.
So what is his intention? I mean, I can't work it out.
I think his intention is 2022. I think that's 2021 earlier, but 2022 is where he needs to be looking at with the new aero regs that are coming in, and it can shake up the field. We saw that, I guess, the kind of most recent massive shake up of in terms of the teams was back maybe 2014, you could say, but even bigger probably back in 2009 when there was a big aero shift. Go back to those high, skinny rear wings and quite the big, long front wings, which people thought were ugly at the time. I thought they were beautiful looking cars. But, yeah, we saw teams like Toyota and Williams find their way back to the front for a time. Brawn obviously rose from the ashes, while teams like McLaren and Ferrari fell back. Red Bull, that was also their start to rise to power, and that kind of helped propel them onwards. Formula One, it's a big momentum thing. If you can start gaining momentum one year with one good result, then you can build a better car for next year, get higher up the grid. We kind of saw that at the start of Renault's return to Formula One. 2016, there was something like 8th or something. Then 2017, they got up to something like 6th. I can't remember the exacts. But they started getting onto this momentum, and now they got 4th in 2018. Now, yes, that slipped back in 2019, but you can see it's almost like a snowball effect. As the teams get more money, they can develop. They finish higher in the championship. They develop the car better. They get even higher in the championship, get more money, and so on. So if we can see a big shake-up in the running order, which I think we probably will do, and I think it will also be a lot closer as well. So the likelihood of a Renault or a McLaren getting on the podium will become a lot more common. It almost takes you back to the early 2000s where you might see the odd Jaguar on the podium, or a Sauber could get up quite high into the points. There's all kinds. We don't really know what's going to happen, but if the field can be compressed a little bit, which it could do, given how tight these regulations are, it could be very, very exciting to see. And I don't think Alonso will be fighting for the championship in 2022 unless Renault have got something massive in the bag. They need to sort their engine as well. Their engine's still probably the weakest on the grid now, so that's another thing they've got to be paying attention to. But because his time's running out as well. If he doesn't win the championship by 2023, that's it. I don't see Alonso getting more than 2 years in that car without some incredible performances. And even so, if Alonso doesn't see the pace and the performance in that Renault, he's not going to last longer than 2 years because he's just going to do what happened at McLaren and leave again. So we'll have to see. I'm doubtful of it personally, given the fact that we've got the likes of Charles Leclerc, Max Verstappen, and Lewis Hamilton probably still at that point in the sport. But we'll have to wait and see.
So yeah. So now we're gonna jump a bit backwards. As I said before, you do YouTube as well. So and you actually we sort of started on similar subscriber numbers. Although you've overtaken me now, but I'm catching you up.
You are. I'm gonna watch my back.
Well, but what I want to know from you is, before you can ask me about my YouTube journey, is what made you, what was it, what made you take YouTube seriously within Formula One?
Ooh, so within Formula, there's two parts to that question in a way. I'm going to start by taking you back to 2012, 8 years ago, which is kind of scary. In fact, over 8 years ago. And it was, I want to say the 15th of May. I think that was the date off the top of my head. It was around mid-May, just around my 12th birthday. And I'd received a camcorder from a family member or something. I can't remember exactly how I got hold of it. But at the same time, I was watching, some of the F1 YouTubers that are still there today. Team Marduk is up there. Into the Barrier was a big one. I absolutely loved his videos, still do. I think he's a brilliant guy. And 12-year-old me was like, yeah, you know what? With the voice of a 12-year-old kid which is really, really high, hadn't broken yet. I can do that as well, totally. So I sat down, recorded my screen with this camcorder. You can imagine how bad this is already, and tried to basically be into the barrier, which didn't really work very well. And I kind of did that for probably about, I think it was about 2 years on an old channel, which I'm not going to mention the name of, so people can't find it. The video should be private anyway, but I think a few of my mates have downloaded a few of them, so they'll probably come out eventually at some point. But then we go to 2014, and I was like, something isn't working here. And I can't remember what made me just start a brand new channel, but I just did. And again, I kind of moved to gaming at that point, and just kind of being a little bit more myself, just kind of talking, doing videos of whatever I wanted to do. And kind of experimenting around, and that channel, which started in 2014, is now what FP1 is. So I think I was on that channel for about 3 years until I started my job, and at that point I kind of knew I had to stop, because even though I had about 300 subs, around 300 subs, I think, at the end of 2017. 350, something like that. So not a massive amount, but not bad for someone who doesn't really know what he's doing. And I kind of got better at this point. And then I was I teach. I work with kids as part of my job, and it was the point in, I think, my first or second week of this new job, that one of the kids who was from my secondary school came up to me and said, "Oh, you're that YouTuber, start spelling up the channel name." And I was like, "Oh no, okay." At this point, I know I need to stop. So I stopped that. I think I might have uploaded the odd spontaneous video here and there, but in general, I stopped. And I did so until around just over a year ago, where I thought, you know what, I really enjoyed YouTube, and I want to do it again, but I want to also do it as something that can help my degree, and something that I am properly passionate about. And that's where FP1 sort of started. So I changed the channel name to FP1 Formula Podcast 1. Where that name came from, again, I don't know. It was kind of spontaneous. I kind of just went with it.
Yeah.
And it started just kind of being a channel that would kind of talk about the news. And then the German Grand Prix was the first race, I think, or one of the first races that had happened, the 2019 German Grand Prix. Since I started the channel, and that race was brilliant. I thought, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to talk about this race and just talk about my thoughts. And that video did fairly well at the end of the day. I think it got about 400, 500 views, which at my point, I thought that, this is amazing. At this point, if I hit 100 views in the video, I'd be happy. So then I started doing the race reviews, which obviously still happen. And then I kind of just kept tweaking the setup, whether I'd talk about news. I still do talk about the odd bit of news, but started going back into the history, started looking to a bit of comedy as well. I mean, it's probably questionable whether I'm a funny guy or not. I'm sure a lot of people would disagree, but hey ho. I think I'm funny, so we'll go with it.
You definitely are, mate.
Well, thank you. And I kind of started jumping into that and just having a bit of fun with it, having learning a little bit about editing. And then, I started collaborating with people back in, March time. So, started with the guys at the F1 debate show, and then fast forward a few months and you were getting in contact with me, and then we did a couple of videos together. So, at that point, when I kind of getting involved with that content community and everyone in this kind of F1 sphere of YouTube, it's quite a motivational thing, because you see everyone growing around you and it kind of motivates you to make more content. And you see everything, oh, that's quite a cool idea. What if I tweak it, or this gives me inspiration to make this video, which is a little bit different. But yeah, it's kind of great to have, and it pushes you forward. And I think both of our channels have grown through the help of all the other YouTubers out there. And I think it's a really nice community at the moment. It's great.
Yeah.
I rambled there for a bit.
I started to health problems. Had labyrinthitis, and I had it really badly. And the thing was, I normally, when you've got labyrinthitis, they can do the test. Whether you can walk, but because I'm in a wheelchair, how the hell they can't do the test. So I was going backwards and forwards for about 6 months' time, saying there's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with me. I feel like I'm awake, but I'm in a coma kind of thing. And then like everything is fuzzy around me, and like everything was moving around me, and it took them a long while to figure out what it was in the while that was going on. Somebody said something really horrible to me on the phone while I was ordering a taxi, and that sort of kicked off anxiety big style. I never had anxiety to that level before. Like, and I was actually doubting like everything I was talking, whether I was making sense and stuff. So I stopped speaking for about three weeks or something. It was. Wouldn't even speak to my doctor, who I've known for like 15 odd years, who's been with me, who's been through, who's known me for 15 years, but it affected me that badly that I didn't speak. So, and then I obviously, the doctor said to me, bear in mind, I didn't respond to him, right? Because I was sitting in his office, in his, the little doctor's offices, and I was sitting in the room when he said, Raz, I know there's nothing wrong with you, like there's nothing wrong with you mentally, there's nothing wrong with you, but we need to get you speaking again. And I know you love Formula One. So what I want you to do is get yourself a camera and just talk about Formula One. So I went home, got onto a certain ordering website, and ordered me first basic camera. I didn't have any equipment, didn't have any stands or nothing. I just got my carer to stand. I just got my carer to stand, and I was talking about Formula One. This is how it started, and the quality was absolutely awful, but it got me talking, which was the main sort of aim for it. And then I thought, screw this. If I'm gonna do it, I might as well do it properly and put it on YouTube. And so I did that in March 2016. Bear in mind, I was still mega suffering with anxiety, and well, it was a good idea. I thought nobody was going to watch it, and then 4 years later, I'm where I am now, so in a way, Formula One has helped me overcome a lot of stuff, cope with me disability, and so do you want to ask me anything about the recent interviews I've done?
I guess, what's in your favourite one? Can I ask you that? What's in your favourite? Don't even have to be on the interviews. If there's one video that you think you enjoyed the most, what would that be? To make or record or to research?
To make or record, well, actually, I mean, I love the whole YouTube game. I love the fact that I love Formula One, and I can honestly say I love it because it saved my life on a number of occasions. I'm not depressed no more. The anxiety has all but disappeared, you know, if rather than being up at night time because I'm scared, I'm up at night time thinking, what's the new next video I'm gonna do, or who can I contact via Twitter or whatever to get on. But I just really love Formula One, and I really love the support that I've been getting. Yeah, I mean, I love doing the Unplanned Chat videos. You know, there was never meant to, so that came about because me and Mike, who've done a couple of, we always end up being off topic. So I thought, what are we going to call it? And one day we said, we was going to call it the Unplanned Chat. And this is how it started.
I think it's a really good idea as well, because it's kind of nice just to sit down and just not have a script, not have, we're going to talk about X, Y, and Z, just sit and have a chat, because it's just a human conversation at the end of the day, isn't it? And it's such a nice thing to have, and such a great thing to have. So, no, I think it's a really good idea, Raz. I think you put together something that's brilliant. You know, having all these incredible guests on as well. You know, I think, Will Buxton, I mean, good old Mark Priestley. That's the one I'm really jealous about. And all these guests, and obviously me as well. The most high profile of them all. But no, I'm joking. But yeah, it's a great thing to have, and I think it's just look at your confidence as well. I know that you've noticed it, but from the last chat that we had, and like the viewers can go back to the video, it was talking about the Williams situation. But just looking at your confidence now and how much more confident you are in talking and presenting yourself and doing these videos, it's incredible to see how much it's come on, how much you've come on, man, and it's really good to see.
Yeah, and thank you for that. Well, because it was never. I mean, I'm absolutely over the moon that anyone that comes on to talk about Formula One with me is epic. But I think I tweeted Matt Gallagher out of the blue, right? Just thought he's not going to respond, and I looked back at my videos, and that video was only a month ago, roughly.
You've got about 100 subscribers since then, haven't you? It's been crazy.
Yeah.
Back then you were like, you were trying to get past 600, and now you're on what, 720? There you go.
But not only that, but when I Matt was Matt is an incredible person. We still tweet, and we still keep in touch, and we still have the odd tweet, and hopefully one day we can all meet. Actually, I really want to meet every single one of you that we collaborate with. But yeah. I said, as I said, we all keep in touch, and after Matt, it was Jess. After Jess, it was Mark, and then it was Lisa Hardy, and then it was Natalie Pinkham, which funny story about that one actually. I actually thought that when I got a response, it was fake. So, and then obviously I had Mark on as well. Absolutely incredible guy and really knowledgeable.
Yeah.
And then I hit the jackpot with, I mean, I wouldn't even say hit the jackpot because I love talking to each one of them, but the Will Buxton one and the Natalie one and the Mark one, they was absolutely awesome for me. But what was your first reactions?
When I saw the when I saw the Matt one, because I know that was at the point where you were trying to get Martin Brundle on, and that tweet, blew up, getting thousands of likes and retweets, which was amazing. And although that, I don't think the Brundle one worked out in the end, you got so much more out of that. And obviously, Matty came and retweeted it, and good for Matty for that. I was very, very jealous when I saw that. I've been trying to get in contact with Matt for ages. No, but I think you did an amazing job with it. And like I said, the Mark Priestley one was the one I was most envious over, I think. Like a good envious, it's a good jealousy. Because you're doing so well, man. And like it's really cool to see. And the Will Buxton one just blew me away because I never thought that he would be kind of talking to people like us that have channels that aren't that big. I kind of expected to be talking to maybe someone like Tomo or an Arrow or a team at Modern, but here he is kind of interacting with some of the small channels, interacting with you, which is just amazing. Kind of gives these guys a lot more of a human side. They're not just these celebrity robots sat wandering around and talking about F1. They're actual humans like me and you, and it's great that they've taken the time to speak to you and collaborate with you. I think it's brilliant.
I mean, fair. I can totally agree with you. And as I said, I love everyone that from everyone that collaborate with me is I've made friends, and when I this YouTube thing not only has it helped me mentally, but it also helped me make friends. And I'm pretty sure that one day after this lockdown, when we can all meet up and have a drink or something, because
100%. Always down for a drink, Raz. Always down for a drink.
No, but on a serious note, I mean, my anxieties have all but disappeared.
Amazing.
And it's like even the way people, when I go out into town, when I go into town, the people have started treating me differently with a lot more respect, shall I say? Because like they say, oh, you're the guy that managed, you're the guy from YouTube.
Have you been recognised?
Yes.
Been recognized? Wow, fair play. On
a number of occasions.
Good for you.
And actually, I don't know how it is for you, but I mean, obviously, the coronavirus is deadly, and nobody's gonna make any light of it. It's a deadly disease, but the fact that the likes of Zoom and Skype or whatever, you don't have to sort of be there physically to be able to do an interview or a job or whatever. So I think in a way it helped me out massively. And I'm pretty sure it gave me so much more opportunity. So, but what did you think about when I suddenly got down to speaking to Mark and Natalie and Will?
Yeah, like I said, I think it's incredible, and it shows how far you've come as well. And I think that's really good. Funnily enough, actually, a few days ago, I was just kind of surfing your channel, but go back to some of your old videos from a few years back, and like again, like I said earlier, you can just see how much more confidence you've got now. Like anyone that's a YouTuber, in fact, this happens with everyone. But if you go back, if you're a YouTuber and watch this, go back to your old videos and just watch them, and just always play them side by side. Your old one with your oldest, with one of your most recent, and just look at the difference. And you don't notice it. It's like when you lose weight, you don't notice it until you look down and think, oh, I don't look pregnant anymore. Brilliant. You know, you don't notice that.
Yeah.
It happens at such a slow process. But you look at it, and you can just see the difference in confidence, and it's brilliant. It is so brilliant, and it's great to see. Like, you know, your channel especially, like you go back and you were talking about, you know, in 2016 when you got that original camera, and, you know, you were setting up, you'd never done anything like this before. Compared to now, yeah, you've been in this game for what, four odd years now.
Yeah. And
you're so much more attuned to how everything works, so much more confident. Your editing's really coming a long way as well, and it's just brilliant, you know, and it's really nice to see. So it's a great success story, especially at the time where, as you said, you know, it's not the most pleasant of times in the world at the moment. It's great to have success stories like yours come out there.
So how did you think I did as an interviewee? Like,
I think you did very, very well. I would have been panicking. I've only done like a couple of interviews myself, and even I'm doing those, you know, no matter how kind of high up or in the Formula they are, or how low down they are in the junior categories, it's a really nerve-wracking thing. So, you know, you handled yourself really well there, and it was really good seeing you. If you go back in, if you look at your first interview with Matty, and then you compare that to your most recent with Will Buxton, you can see the difference there. It's great.
And yeah, I think, I mean, I don't know whether you've seen it, but it wasn't me, I swear. But somebody has put a tweet, has put a hashtag out there. Get Raz on Sky F1.
I have. I feel like I've seen it quite a lot, and I hope they can do it. You know, you've also got those links with Natalie Pinkham now. Maybe that can be what gets you that elusive chat with Martin Brundle. You never know.
No, but like, coming back to that, I mean, people are literally coming up to me, right, on the street. Can we have a selfie? Or
no way. That I'd love to have. Honestly, if I can get that, I'm like, yeah, my life on YouTube is complete. I'm content now. Someone wants to take a photograph with me. That they're not just taking the joke as well. Like, and that just shows, you know, how inspirational you've been, and people are taking notice now. It's brilliant.
Took me 4 years.
Hey, I mean, you know, you got there quicker than me. It took me 8 years. So, hey, and I've still not had it yet. So, you know, it's really good.
But looking forward to from your channel. I mean, obviously you study aerodynamics or something.
Yeah, aeronautics and astronautics, which is a mouthful and fun. It's fun. I say I smile through the pain there, but no, it's good fun.
And I've seen that on our little group, WhatsApp group. You said, I think it was Donny. Was it Donny F1 that your dissertation was something to do with F1? Do you want to tell us more?
Yeah. So my dissertation is very exciting, and basically the university that I'm based at has this wind tunnel model of the Formula 1 car. It's about 40% scale, but it's like a proper big, you know, 2008 spec Formula 1 car. So it's, you know, it's all made out of carbon fiber. We've got a big wind tunnel we can put it in as well. So my project for next year is going to be taking the rear wing off that, designing a brand new rear wing, building that rear wing, and then sticking it on the car and testing it in the wind tunnel as well, which is very, very exciting. You know, it's almost a dream come true in a way. A lot earlier than I thought it would be happening. It was a bit stressful to kind of get it set up because it wasn't the way it worked was, you know, there was like a bunch of suggested titles, and some of them were really good. Like there was a brilliant one about designing a front wing to go around a specific corner of your choice. At the same time, though, there was one that I think was designing the Lectra new espresso machine, which was perhaps slightly less exciting. But I had to kind of self-propose my own project to find someone to support me. And the lecturer doing is a fantastic guy, and I'm looking forward to working with him. But the plan is, if I can, I have to see what the university lets me do. But the plan is to try and document it on the channel. So if I'm allowed to do that, and I'm not going to release anything specifically yet until I know I'm allowed to do it. But if I am, it should be good fun, and it should be quite cool to kind of document the experience as well.
So how easy or not easy was it to convince your lecturer to?
It took a few. It took a bit of tweaking. The initial plan, basically, he came back and said, "There's no way you're going to be able to do that." So the initial plan was basically to look at the rear wing end plates and kind of add these louvers. Which, for those that don't know, basically, if you look at a rear wing, you see there's little cuts in the side of the end plate, the little horizontal cuts. Sometimes they have a little flick at the end. If you look at any rear wing from about 2010 onwards, you'll see them. So the plan was to start incorporating those, but then, that was basically shot down for being too complicated. It's very hard to kind of model that mathematically as well, because the thing with aero is, they make it something we know so much about it. At the end of the day, we really don't, and there's so much we don't know. It's why Formula One is still growing, because we're learning more, and we'll be able to create computers and create programs that are even more kind of accurate. Bear in mind, when you put something, I think the bare bones of this, you go all the way up to secondary school, where you learn speed as distance divided by time. That's the very start, and that works for a very general case where you haven't got air resistance, there's no bumps on the track. In fact, you're not even on the track, there's no friction you've got to worry about. You have to worry about drag from the tires, you have to worry about drag from the object. Then as you go through more and you go through A level, you start learning about how objects interact with drag forces and things like that, and how things have not just slowed down, they don't just go on forever. If I throw a ball, it is going to get slowed down by the air around it. Then you get to university, it takes a step further, and even when you get into industry, we don't have a great understanding yet. That's because the maths is so complicated that we can only really do it by making these approximations, by making these assumptions. We've got to simplify the maths down, otherwise we actually cannot calculate it. It would take years and years and years to calculate one little calculation, and that's just for one case. If you go over a bump, that case changes. If you're on a track and you go up a hill, that changes. So you've got to find a really efficient way of getting new data, designing new parts quickly. Otherwise, you're just going to get overtaken in Formula One. We've seen that before. Teams that end up lagging behind the development race, they fall back towards the end of the season. Look at Brawn GP. They won the championship, but that car was a midfield car by the end of 2009. That's because they didn't have the money to invest in those resources and keep boosting the performance of that car. So there's a lot of compromises that you've got to take, and a lot of kind of scenarios where you've got to kind of take the best of one bit and the best of another bit, and kind of deal with the negatives that come along with that, if that makes sense. But it's a really interesting topic to study, and anyone that is out there considering studying aeronautics, go for it, because it's tricky, but it's incredibly rewarding as well.
So looking to the future, like, are you looking into, first of all, are you looking into sort of using the channel, your Formula One channel, to get into that world even more? Like, I mean,
given the amount of teams that I've slagged off on my channel, it probably isn't the best thing to use as advertising. But no, I mean, it helps keep me interested, and it shows that I've got a passion, which is good for a CV. It's kind of like when I came back in 2018, and I talked about it earlier, I felt like if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this at least semi-professionally, so that if someone did, if say I'm in a job meeting, the guy searches up my channel, they're not going to see me screaming and raging at a video game, because they're going to see me, with a level head, talking about the news, making the odd joke here and there, but someone who's passionate about Formula One. Now, where I go from here, I don't know. I'm kind of at a crossroads at the moment as to what I want to do. There's that teaching job that's still kind of stuck at the back of my mind, whether I want to go for that or not. At the same time, the Formula One teams are out there, and I'm going to apply to those. As I'm sure a lot of people will appreciate, it's not an easy field to get into. You've got to really push for it. I came very close last year, just missed out. I think I got to the last 6 in the interview for Williams, which, to be fair, good the fact that I didn't even expect to get to interview stages. I'll take that. So, yeah, I mean, it was we'll try again this year. We'll see how things go. But you know, I don't think YouTube can ever become a full-time thing, not unless, you know, I see some like Tomo F1 style growth. But if YouTube was an option, I'd probably take it. It'd be cool. I think it's quite a risky option to take as a full-time job, because anything can happen. Or when you use some new copyright laws, and all of a sudden you're not making money anymore. So you've got to be careful with it. But I'm at a crossroads. I don't really know where I'm going to go. I think the next year is going to be really important for me in terms of, you know, how I find uni, how I find balancing jobs, how I find YouTube. So there's a lot of things in the pipeline. So we'll just kind of take it day by day and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, whatever you do, and I hope whatever we do, I mean, I hope we're gonna stay in touch anyway.
100%. What's your plans going forward? I'm not asked that yet. What's next for you?
Well,
can you tell us? Or are there some more secret interviews that we haven't found out about yet?
No, but the list is growing more. Like the list of the list of potential guests that I want to, that, you know, because I've got a list of people that I have had on. I've got people that that the list that I want, the people that I want to have on, is just growing. But I just want to give you a bit of encouragement, yeah, because you said Formula One is a very tough world to get into, and people, I mean, you know, your interviews with, you know, with these, the amount of interviews that you've done are awesome. I've watched every single one of them, and I genuinely have, right?
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
But it's like, for me, because when I was born, right, the doctors gave me 12% of survival chance within the first 12 hours.
Wow.
Right? So the doctors weren't thinking I was making it. So I have, and I think because I've always had to work really hard to get to where I am, like, you know, I always work really hard to get to where I am, but I always, at the same time, I haven't got the time to sort of, you know, it's not that my condition is getting worse, you know, my condition is stable and I can only get better. You know, I'm not going to walk again. I think that's out the question. But you know, I can get more confident. You know, I can get more confident. And what I was going to say to you is because if you want to go into Formula One, then I would suggest, you know, then keep on writing to these people, because, you know, that's, I mean, look at where I've come from. Like, look what I've just done. I did a tweet out of the blue. You know, just I was lying in bed and couldn't sleep. And I was thinking, what is my biggest dream, right? Yeah. And my biggest dream to this day is I want to be one day, I want to get on TV to combine and talk about Formula One. And we look where Matty started.
Exactly.
You know,
yeah, Matty's probably the best example, especially in this kind of Formula One YouTubing world that we've got at the moment. Matty started from you know, screaming at people online in his bedroom, and now, you know, he's sat on Sky Sports commentating on races. It's incredible, and all that in a space of less than 10 years is fantastic, frankly. So yeah, good on him. Good on him.
But what I'm saying is, I never expected Matt, Jess, Tommy, Lisa, Will, Natalie, or Mark. You know, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, my life's goal, was always that I wanted to speak to one journalist or one person actively involved or was involved in Formula One in some way. And I've managed to do that 7 times over. To be frank, I mean, I literally still to this day, I look at these interviews and say, did that really happen? Because after I done it, I absolutely cried because of happiness, not because of upsetting, but because of happiness. I never expected it. And then I spoke to Matt and everybody that I spoke, everybody that I interviewed, and they all said, mate, there's no reason why you can't get on to Sky, or Crush, Pit Pass or whatever, especially now because of the Zoom and or Skype or whatever, So, obviously I can't physically be there. I mean, I'm not saying that I can't travel, but it would need some organization because of what I need, with the carers and the hoists and everything. But this whole pandemic has actually opened somewhat more opportunities for me that I've never thought about having. So my goal is to get some more Formula One people on here, and hopefully one day hopefully one day I get my dream to go on Sky F1.
Hopefully, and I think, you know what, if you keep pushing the way you're going, keep talking to people, keep sending people messages, you never know. Have you messaged Simon Lazenby yet? He'll be your next one, surely. Good. Yeah. Hopefully he gets on. He should get on there.
But like it's for me, it's not only the people that I have had on, it's also I never expected from the YouTube that I'll be writing official letters to F1 personnel, F1 managers, and it's just how do I write these letters? What do I say? What do I not say? And it's a learning process. And if you want to get Mark Priestley on, then drop him another message, and I'm sure if he finds time, he might be able to help you out.
Yeah, I'll try it again. I will try it again. Hey, maybe you can put a good word into me. You got all these friends now. No, I'm joking, obviously.
But coming following on from that, it is absolutely out of this world for me when you get a message from Natalie Pinkham or Mr. Will Buxton, messaging you either on Twitter or Skype to wish you enjoying the race and giving me this encouragement, So it's not only it's not only the fact that we've done the interview, yeah, but it's also the afterwards, yeah, because I'm buzzing from this. I'm gonna be buzzing from this for the rest of my life, yeah. I mean, I'm still buzzing from when I went to Williams back in 2013. I'm still buzzing from that. So can you imagine every time I get a message from anybody involved in Formula One?
I can imagine it's brilliant. I can imagine.
And so just follow your dream and just keep pushing, brother. And
you too.
I don't want to see you dropping off YouTube, man, because you're.
Yeah. I've still got more teams to rip into, more drivers to insult. It's great.
Finally, question is, who do you think is the greatest of all time?
Ooh, I'll tell you what, he's on your shirt if I'm right. Mahavir Raghunathan, is that the Lord Mahavir you got on there? I think he's got to be the GOAT. You know, you've got to go for or with a Pastor Maldonado coming a close second. Maybe Roy Nassani third. No. In all seriousness, greatest of all time. It's a tricky one. I've said that a lot today, but I think it's especially tricky because the greatest driver of all time may never have raced in Formula One. He may never have been in the machinery to challenge in the top car. For all we know, Jolyon Palmer could have become the greatest of all time had he been put in a Mercedes and given time in that team. You just never know. But from what we go off, it's going to be quite a boring answer perhaps, but I've got to go with Lewis Hamilton. You know, I think with Schumacher a close second. Both of them have been in dominant cars, in fairness, but they've still had their teammates to beat. And Hamilton to beat Rosberg, who I don't think gets enough credit as he deserves, especially if you look at how Bottas has coped with Hamilton from 2017 onwards. It really shows how quick Nico really was. So you've got to go with Lewis on that one. Like, he says ups and downs his career. You know, 2009 to 2012 weren't particularly brilliant years. He was fighting for the title in a couple of those, but really, you know, and sometimes it was the car's fault. You know, 2012, 2009 are good examples of that. But for me, you know, given what he's done at Mercedes, you know, he is looking like he could take Michael Schumacher's win record this year, which go back before the start of the turbo hybrid era, you just wouldn't have thought, would you? I mean, it's crazy that these records now getting close to being built. It's likely. I mean, I'm saying it's likely. I also say it was likely that Sebastian Vettel would fight for the championship this year, but it's likely. It's likely that he will take his 7th world championship this year and equal that of Michael Schumacher. And I do wonder, and it's a very sneaky suspicion, but it'd be very kind of almost out of character. But I wonder if he hits 7 titles and then retires from Formula One. I wonder if he does that and just match it, just match that benchmark. Because I know he's got a lot of respect for Schumacher. Given the fact he's not signed a contract yet, maybe that's a bit of a hot take. I don't know. But I wouldn't be surprised to see it. If he just gets to 7 and says, you know what, I've done what I need to do. I've proved that I can match Schumacher. I don't want to surpass him. I don't know. I just wonder.
Do you really think he could do that?
Either that or he'll go one further, and once he's got 8, he'll call it a day. But at 7 titles or 8 titles, he'll pack it in. I'm confident it'll be one of those 2.
Do you reckon?
I think so. Genuinely, I do. I'll probably get a bit of stick for that in the comments. Well done if you have got this far in the video.
No,
doing well for yourself.
Because I think, you can't define anyone who is the greatest driver, because if you asked me this about 6 months ago, or about 6 to 8 months ago, I would have said Schumacher was the greatest driver. But then I'm kind of the opinion now that you can't, it's like you can't really compare the greatest anymore, because first of all, back in the old days, I mean, look at Sterling Moss. Yeah, he never won the championship yet. He was a incredible driver, but you know, at that time, they didn't even have seatbelts. Yeah. And they didn't even, and back in Senna's days, they didn't even have. They had 16. They had 15 to 16 races. I mean, we are lucky if we get 16 or 15 races now in 2020. But you know, because of that virus. But back in them days, so you can't really compare. You can't really say who the greatest is, I reckon. And as far as Lewis Hamilton is concerned, I think people are not giving him as much credit as he deserves. And I think for some of us at least, they're gonna. Lewis Hamilton will only be really appreciated once he retires.
I think you're right. I think we saw that with a lot of drivers. You know, I think Schumacher's a good example. Jim Clark, another one. Senna. I think Senna was always kind of regarded as that as one of the greatest of all time. I think there's definitely a Hall of Fame. I can see where you're coming from, though. I do think, you know, it was kind of like what I was talking about earlier. I mean, I was joking about it with Jodie and Palmer and Mercedes, but looking at the way teams are, and you know, made a very good point about, you know, how the cars and how the regulations were back then. You know, do you think all 20 drivers would get in and race some of the 1950s F1 cars? I'm willing to bet no. Some of them wouldn't, and some of them wouldn't want to risk their lives. So it's a very good point to make.
And I think, I mean, I'm intrigued, right, of the last comment you made that Lewis Hamilton might equal it and then call it a day.
It would be poetic, wouldn't it? It would be poetic.
I would have thought, no way he's gonna go all out. However, maybe I'm out of, you know, maybe I'm clutching at straws here, but like maybe, I mean, Lewis Hamilton hasn't signed the contract yet. He has not signed the contract, and you know, why is it that in German media there's an article out today that said if Lewis Hamilton didn't go to Mercedes, Nico Hülkenberg was supposed to take that seat.
Yeah, I saw that. It's kind of been floating around through, I think, both German and the English media as well. So it's picked up on it. I think Ross Brawn came out and said it in a Beyond the Grid episode, I think, or something like that. I think about how different life would have been. I think someone asked me on Twitter, actually, would Nico Rosberg have taken all the titles? No, I don't think he would. But I also think it's interesting. Had Hülkenberg got that seat in 2013, what a lot of people are forgetting about is the fact that between 2013 and to now, we've had several high-profile names go up on the driver market. Fernando Alonso, could he have ended up taking Hülkenberg's seat if he wasn't performing? Same thing with Sebastian Vettel, both of which in 2014. They're the best examples there. And what would Hamilton have done? If he's still in that McLaren, would he still be in the sport? Probably not. He wouldn't have won a championship at this point for over 10 years. I think he could be in a very Kimi situation that we are now. It's a very interesting one, and I feel like if Nico, it's almost gone both ways, because Nico, I think, wouldn't be in the sport now had he been signed to Mercedes, unless he had really performed throughout 2013 and especially 2014. If Nico hadn't performed in 2014 and lost his Mercedes drive from one of the drivers I mentioned earlier, then maybe he wouldn't have stayed in the sport for as long. He might not have found I guess, footing in another team. It's really hard to say, and especially with these ones, it's hard to speculate on. But I feel like we would have got that podium at least. And Nico's a much better driver than people give him credit for. I mean, look what he did in the last couple of weekends. So, hey.
So yeah, if you haven't already, guys, please subscribe to both of our channels. We are, I'll leave a link in the description. Any more last thoughts, Will?
Oh, right, Formula One. I mean, I'm gonna mirror what Josh Revel said on one of my collabs back a few months ago. But can we change the Sock George-drome? Can we get rid of that? That'd be nice. Replace that for something like Hockenheim. That's the Formula One. If you're listening to this video, you know what you're gonna do. And Red Bull, fire Christian Horner. He's getting a little bit too salty for my liking at the moment, but no. those are my closing comments.
Okay, so anyway, it's been great having you on. I know we've been meaning to do this for a while.
Yeah. Good to be back. Good to be back, and you're always welcome back over on my channel as well.
Yeah. If you ever want to do who's your guest for the next past playing?
So next post-podium podcast guest is, I'm filming it today actually, it's Ryan and Richard from the Apex Motorsport. But I have got some slots opening up later in the season, so I will get back to you on that and we can sort something out. We can get you in.
Yes, we can do that. And as I said, I'll leave a link in the description down below. And I can confirm that the next guest for the next confirmed guest for the Unplanned F1 Chat, I'm going to be filming.
Please.
I'm going to be filming with Mike from F1 Fanatics. So,
good guest. Good guest.
Yes.
Good lad. We love Mike.
Yes, we all do. So, I'm looking forward to that one. But as always, Will, it's been a blast. And cheers for coming on.
No worries, man. Glad to be here.
And don't you stop doing YouTube videos, mate, because it's absolutely awesome. All right.
People are going to put up for me for a little bit longer yet, I think. And you too, man. Keep pushing. You're doing amazing at the moment.
Thank you, mate. Bye.
See you later.